Hi friends, welcome to the channel JIV and CIV Made Simple. This is our unit number 8 theory portion of AVM. The topic name, the chapter name is linear programming, and in this chapter we are going to see three important things. The first thing is introduction, second thing is graphical approach, and the third thing is called the simplex method. So let's start with the introduction part first. So friends, have you ever wondered how business make the best use of limited resource to maximize profit? So here two keywords are there, right? The first keyword is the limited resource, and the second keyword is to the maximize profit. Maximize profit, right? So, or how bank decide on loan allocation efficiently? The answer lies in something called linear programming, right? So it is a powerful tool for making the best financial decision. So in this video we will break it down in the simplest way possible. So let's dive into what is linear programming. Super simple explanation. Imagine you run a bakery. Right? You have limited amount of flour, sugar and worker. Your goal is to maximize your profit. Your goal is to maximize your profit by producing the right mix of cakes and cookies. So you want to produce right mix of cakes and cookies, and thereby you want to maximize profit. But there is a catch. Too many cake and you run out of flour. Too many cookies and you will exceed your worker capacity. How do you decide the best balance? Right? So the cake should not be higher, cookies should not be higher. So how to decide the best balance? So the best balance we have to decide. Right? So this is where this linear programming comes into help. LP is simply a mathematical way to allocate limited resource. So this is a mathematical technique to allocate limited resource. So limited resource, just like let me give an example, just like money, just like raw material, just like labor. So basically LP, linear programming, is the best way to allocate limited resource like money, raw material and labor to get the best result, right? So we allocate limited resource to get the best possible result. Right? So this is what LP is all about. Allocating limited resource to get the best result. And what can be best result? The best result can be profit, cost saving, or it can be time efficiency. This can be our best result. Right? Now let's talk about the structure of linear programming. So basically it is all about allocating our limited resource like money, raw material and labor to get the best result like profit, cost and time efficiency. Now structure, if we talk about the structure part, here we can see the structure part. So to use linear programming, a problem need two things. So what are two things that are required? Any problem needs two things. The first thing is called objective function. What it means? That this is the goal. We call it. This is the goal. So are we maximizing profit? Or are we minimizing cost? Right? So are we reducing time? So are we maximizing profit, are we minimizing cost, or are we reducing time? For example, a company may want to maximize profit from selling different product, right? So this is called objective function, means our goal. What is our goal? Are we maximizing our profit, are we minimizing the cost, or are we reducing the time? But there are some constraint, right? So obviously objective function is there, but there are some constraint. You can see the second part, constraint. What is the meaning of constraint? So these are the limitation you have to follow. For example, a factory can't produce more than 100 units per day due to machine limit. Obviously machine limit is there, and because of which a factory can't produce more than 100 units per day, right? So this is called constraint. So what I want to say, that to use linear programming, a problem need two things. The first thing you need is an objective function. Second thing you need a constraint. When I say objective function, it means what is our goal, whether it is to maximize profit, whether it is to minimize cost, or whether we want to reduce the time. This is called objective function. And second thing we need is called constraint. Constraint means what? Means limitation you have to follow, like the rules. Like a factory can't produce more than 100 units per day due to machine limits. Now let me give you some real life uses of linear programming, that is called application. The first application is the banking and finance. So deciding the best loan distribution to the customer. Then you can use it in manufacturing. How manufacturing? That managing production while minimizing the cost. Then you can use in supply chain. Then you can use in the supply chain. Supply chain means optimizing warehouse space and transporting. You can use in healthcare. You means allocating hospital resource efficiently, right? So these are the places where you can use this so-called linear programming. Banking and finance, manufacturing, supply chain, healthcare. So linear programming is everywhere. It is the super calculator that find the best way to use what you have. Now question is how we solve this problem, right? So there are two major methods. There are two methods to solve LP problem. The first is called graphical method and the second is called simplex method, right? So graphical method is best for simple problem with two variables. So suppose we have simple problem, right, which have only two variables. So for that this graphical method is superior. Like suppose we are deciding between producing cake or cookies, and you know this simplex method is used for complex problem. It is used for complex problem. Although the name is simplex, but it is used for complex problem with multiple variable, like you want to optimize investment, right, across different financial asset. So don't worry, we will go into step by step in the upcoming video, in the upcoming slide, to make it super easily, right? So let's summarize what are the key elements in linear programming. Just summarize. Let's quickly define the three most important elements, right? The three most important elements is, you know, the first is the objective function, right? I told you earlier, the first is the objective function. Objective function means the formula that tells us what to maximize and what to minimize, whether it is profit, cost or time. So basically this objective function is a formula that tells us what to maximize and what to minimize. Second thing, we have the constraint, the real world limitation like budget, capacity and labor. And the third thing we have is the decision variable. So it means that the unknown value we need to determine, that how many cakes and cookies to produce, right? So three things are there, right? So three things are there which we want to tell you, right? Objective function, constraint and decision variable, right? You can see it written here. So these are the things. Now common constraint in business and banking. You know, there are some common constraint. You can see some example of constraint given here. The first constraint is working capital requirement set by the bank. You can see working capital requirement set by the bank. So for example, a bank may require a company to maintain a certain cash balance before taking loan. You know it very well. Second is the market absorption limit. So market limit. Companies can only set a limited amount of product based on demand. Capacity constraint means, you know, factory can only produce so much per day. Labor availability and raw material availability. What it means, that shortage of worker or material can affect production. So final thought, linear programming is not just theory, it is a game changer in banking, business and finance. If you understand it well, you will be able to solve practical problem in examination and apply it in real life, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. Now let's discuss. So we have discussed the three important things. Objective function is the formula, right, which tells us what to maximize, what to minimize. Constraint, what is constraint? We have just discussed. Constraint is the real world limitation and decision variable is the unknown value we need to determine. Now let's discuss the condition for formulating linear programming problem. How to formulate the linear programming problem, the condition. So ever wondered what make a linear programming problem valid? Just like a recipe needs the right ingredient, an LP problem must follow certain rule. Right, so just like a recipe needs right ingredients, similarly a linear programming problem must follow rules. In this slide we will break down condition in the simplest way. So the first condition is that all equation must be linear, right? So what it means, think of a pizza shop, right? If one pizza cost rupees 200, if one pizza costs rupees 200, then 5 pizza will cost how much? Tell me, 5 pizza will cost how much? 1000 rupees. Right, so this is proportionality, that is called proportionality, principle of proportionality. The relationship stays the same. One pizza costs 200, 5 pizza costs 1000. So in LP what happened, in linear programming what happened, the equation must be linear, right? In LP what happened, equation must be linear. The equation must be linear, right? So it means variable should have a straight line relationship. It means variable should have a straight line relationship. So proportionality means what? You can think of a pizza shop. If one pizza costs rupees 200, then 5 pizza will cost you rupees 1000. So this is proportionality. The relationship stays the same. Similarly in LP, linear programming, equation must be linear. Linear equation, you know it very well. All equation must be linear. Meaning variable should have a straight line relationship. No square terms like x square. You know x square. So nothing like that. Or complex function like log x. So these complex functions are not allowed, like x square or log x, just y is equal to x, or y is equal to ax plus b. This is the general equation, you know it, right? So this is the first thing, that condition number 1, that all equation must be linear. These are the condition for formulating linear program. Now let's look at the second condition. Second condition is that constraint must be known and certain. Constraints are known and deterministic. It must be known and certain. So imagine a bank deciding how much to lend. So they need clear fixed limit. Imagine a bank is deciding how much to lend. So bank need a clear and fixed limit. Like total loan cannot exceed 10 crore. So total loan cannot exceed, it must be less than or equal to 10 crore. Or they can say at least 30% of the fund must go to priority sector. At least 30% of the fund must go to the priority sector. So these are the limits. So a bank is deciding how much to lend. So they need clear fixed limit. Like the loan cannot exceed 10 crore. 30% of the fund must go to the priority sector. So you know, this linear programming work only when all constraints are known and deterministic. Meaning they have 100% probability of occurring. Means they should be known, all the constraints should be known, and it should be deterministic. Just now I'm giving an example. So a bank which is deciding how much to lend, so they need a clear limit that loan cannot exceed 10 crore. So this is 100% probability that loan should not exceed 10 crore, and at least 30% of the fund should go to priority sector. So this is the second condition, that is called probability should be equal to 1. And the third condition is that all variable must be non-negative. What it means? Try to understand. Means no negative production. Suppose a factory produce table and chair. So can the factory make -5 table? Tell me, can factory make -5 table? Nope. So production, money, resources cannot be negative. In linear programming, all decision variable must be 0 or positive. Just now I have told you three things that matters. So friends, condition 3 is that all the variable must be non-negative, right? So all variable must be non-negative. So it means that no negative production. Can the factory make -5 table? Of course not. So production, money, resources cannot be negative. So in linear programming, all decision variable must be 0 or positive. You cannot produce 10 or 100 chair, but you can produce 10 or 100 chair, but not -10. So this is the third condition, right? And the fourth condition is that all the decision variable, it must be divisible, means fractional valued allowed. Means what? Let's say a company is distributing investment into stock. So let me give an example to make it clear. So let's say a company is distributing investment into a stock or bond or gold. So a company is distributing investment into stock, bond and gold. So they can allocate 2.5 crore, right, to a stock. They can allocate 3.75 crore to bond, right? So fractions are allowed. But if a problem requires whole number only, like hiring employee, then integer programming is used instead, right? So I hope that makes sense. So the four condition I have told you, let me remind you once more, right? So why this condition matter? Because linear programming work only if these rules are followed. Understanding this condition will help you solve LP based question in the examination with confidence. The first rule is that equation must be linear. Second rule is that constraints are known, right? So a constraint must be known and certain. Third rule is that all variable must be non-negative. And fourth rule is that decision variable must be divisible. That means fractional values are allowed. Now let's look at the first approach that we have. This is nothing but the graphic approach. So let's discuss it now. So have you ever wondered how business decide the right mix of product to maximize profit? So the question is right mixture of product to maximize profit. How business decide right mix of product, right? So imagine running a factory where you can make either radios or TV, but you have limited time, money and resources, right? So imagine you are running a factory where you can make either radio or TV, but you have limited time, money and resource. How do you decide? That is where this graphic approach in the linear programming comes into picture. Let's break it down in the simplest way possible. So the question is, what is graphic approach? Graphic approach is a simple method to solve linear programming problem when there are only two decision variables. So let me highlight the key point here, the two decision variable. This is a simple method to solve linear programming problem when there are two decision variable. The question is why two? Why two? Right, the answer is because we can easily plot them on graph and find the best solution visually. Because because we can easily plot them on graph. Two variable can be easily plotted on the graph and find the best solution visually. Let me give you an example. So here is an example in front of you. So remember, this graphic approach is useful for two variable only. Let me give you an example. Imagine a firm producing radios and TV. Imagine firm A make radios and TV, right, but they have limited resource. The condition is that they have limited resource. right? So just like any real business, they have limited resource. You can see cost is each radio costs rupees 500 wages plus 500 material. Similarly, each TV costs rupees 2500 wages plus 1500 material cost. So, and the selling price is given, price of each radio, a radio sells for rupees 2000 and each television sells for rupees 6000. Now you know the firm A can sell unlimited unit at this price, right? Firm, you can see the demand. The demand is that firm A can sell unlimited unit at this price, but the constraint is that there are some constraint, that the real challenge is that machine time, right? Machine time is only 10 hour a day. That means machine only 10 hour a day. So it makes one radio takes 3 hour, right? One radio take 3 hour on the machine, and one TV take, just wait a minute, let me show you. You can see it here. So machine time is 10 hour a day, and one TV take 1 hour. You see, one TV take 1 hour on the machine. Now if you talk about the assembly time, so only 4 hour per day available for assembly, and one radio take 1 hour for assembly, and one TV take 1 hour for assembly, right? So these are the constraint, these are the production constraint, whatever we talked just now, right? And first of all, we talked about the cost of each radio and each TV, and selling price we have just got to know, right? So two variable we are dealing with. Now we have cash balance. So key constraint we got to know. Now we have cash balance. So cash balance is given that a firm has 12,000 for wages and material. You see, 12,000 is available for wages and material, right? So this is also kind of constraint. What is the goal? The goal here is to find the best production mix. Let me write down the goal. Best production mix, right? Should firm A make more radio or TV? Should firm make more TV or radio? How much of it should they produce to maximize profit while staying within their limit, right? So this is our goal, this is our objective function, right? So how does the graphic approach help? So instead of using this complex formula, we plot this constraint on a graph, right? The x-axis, let me show you the graph here first. You can see the graph. So this x-axis, you can see this x-axis. This x-axis shows you, I will explain the graph clearly. This x-axis show you that the radio produced, right? Radio produced, and this y-axis shows you that the TV produced, right? So the shaded feasible region shows all possible combination that satisfy the constraint, and the best solution lies where we get the highest profit. So I will explain it. So let's first understand what are the decision variable here. Let's go back to our discussion. Just wait a minute. Yeah, so here we are talking about the decision variable. So friends, imagine you own a factory that makes radio and TV. You have limited time, you have limited money, you have limited resource. How do you decide how many radio and TV to make for maximum profit? That is where linear programming comes into picture. So we will crack this concept in the easiest way possible. So step 1 is decision variable, understanding the decision variable. You see this written here. So first we define what we need to decide. We need to decide x. X is equal to number of radios produced. Y is equal to number of television produced. Our goal, what is our goal? Is to find the best value of x and y to maximize the profit. We have to find the best value, best possible value of x and y to maximize the profit. You know, step number 2 is understanding the constraint, right? Step number 2 is understanding the constraint. So every business has limitation, right? So here are the one for our factory. The first limitation is machine time constraint. You know that each radio takes 3 hours. So each radio takes 3 hours and each TV takes 1 hour on the machine, right? So let me write it down. Each radio takes 3 hours and each TV takes 1 hour on the machine, right? And we have only 10 hours per day on the machine. How many hours per day? 10 hours per day, right? So our equation is 3x plus y less than equal to 10. So why 3x? Because you know, for one radio takes 3 hours. How many radio we have? X radio. So tell me how much time x radio will take? So it will be 3x time. Similarly, one TV takes 1 hour. One TV takes 1 hour. So how much time y TV will take? Y hour. So this 3x plus y should be less than or equal to total time we have available, which is 10. So 3x plus y should be less than or equal to 10. This is called first constraint. That is called machine time constraint, first equation. Now the second equation we have is regarding the assembly time constraint. You know, each radio and TV take 1 hour for assembly. So radio also take 1 hour and TV also take 1 hour. How many radio we have? X radio. So tell me how much time X radio will take? X hour. How much we have Y TV? How much time Y TV will take for assembly? Y hour. So you know the maximum time we have available for assembly is how much? 4 hour, right? So we have only 4 hour per day for assembly. So this X plus Y should be less than or equal to 4. This is our second constraint. Now we have some financial constraint also, right? Financial constraint is like, you know, we have only 12,000 to spend. We have only 12,000 to spend. Let me show you again the data. I hope you must have seen it. So you can see cash balance is 12,000 only, right? And you know the selling price of each radio, the price of each radio is 2,000, right? And we have X radios available, and price of each TV is 6,000. We have Y TV available. So can you tell me what will be the price of this X radio? This will be 200X. What will be the price of this Y television? This will be 6,000Y. So this 2,000X plus 6,000Y should be within what? 12,000. No. This is the price. Yes, correct. How much it is? 12,000. No. Sorry. This is the price of it. This is the selling price. Not we are talking about this cost price. Cost price is how much? 1,000 for each radio, and how much it is? 4,000 for each TV. So for X radio it will be 1,000X. For Y TV it will be 4,000Y. So we have a constraint that 1,000X plus 4,000Y, it should be less than or equal to how much? What is the total constraint we have? Total we have 12,000, right? Cash balance. So it should be less than or equal to 12,000, right? So if we simplify it, 1,000 get cancelled. So X plus 4Y, so it should be less than or equal to 12, right? So this is our second constraint, financial constraint. And finally, you know, we have some non-negativity constraint also. I told you earlier we have some non-negativity constraint also. What is non-negativity constraint? The non-negative constraint is that X should be greater than or equal to 0. We can't produce negative radio or negative TV. We can't do that. Can we do that? No. So I already told you we can't do that. So X should be greater than or equal to 0. Y should be greater than or equal to 0. So now, what is our goal? To maximize profit. The step number 3 is the graphical representation. So first of all, step 1 is, what is the step 1? Step 1 is decision variable. Step 2 is what? Step 2 is the constraint determination, constraint. And step number 3, just now we have seen, is the graphical approach, graphical representation. So now we plot this constraint on a graph, right? So graph, you know, there is x-axis, there is y-axis. So what does this x-axis show? This x-axis show number of radio, y-axis show number of TV, right? And you know, each constraint form a line on the graph. We have how many constraints? We have 3 constraints. Let me show you. These are the 3 constraints we have. This is the first one. Just wait a minute. This is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one, right? So they have 3 constraints we have available, right? And each constraint shows form a line on the graph, right? So you know how to draw the line. Let me tell you. So if you want to draw the line 3x plus y, right? Suppose you want to draw the line 3x plus y is equal to 10. What you do? You first put y is equal to 0. If you put y is equal to 0, you will get x intercept as 10 by 3, right? And then you put x is equal to 0. If you put x is equal to 0, you will get y is equal to 10. So we get 2 coordinate. At x is equal to 10 comma 3, y is 0. So now let me plot it on the graph. You can see this particular graph. This one we are talking about, this one. I am highlighting it. So at this point it is 10 upon 3, right? And similarly, if you extend it, it will go somewhere at 10. So this is how we plot this particular graph. Similarly, if you want to plot this graph, that is x plus 4y is equal to 12. How to plot it? Simple. Put x is equal to 0. So y you will get 3. Put y is equal to 0. X you will get 12. So we have 3 coordinate, 0 comma 3 and 12 comma 0, right? So 0 comma 3 will be somewhere here, and 12 comma 0 will be somewhere here. So this is how we plotted this graph. So I hope it is clear how we got this graph. Similarly, the third equation we have is x plus the third constant line we have x plus y is equal to 4. We ignore the equality sign. We just take equal sign into consideration. You see in our constraint we have inequality sign also. आप देखेंगे कंस्ट्रेंट में हमारा इनइक्वालिटी साइन भी है. वी इग्नोर द इनइक्वालिटी साइन, वी जस्ट टेक x is y plus y is equal to 4. Now how to plot this graph? We have to find the 2 coordinate. How to find the two coordinate? First of all, we will equate x to 0, and then after we will equate y to 0. So x plus y is equal to 4. You put x is equal to 0, y value you will get 4. You put y is equal to 0, x value you will get 4. So we have the two coordinate 0 comma 4 and 4 comma 0, right? So how it will look like? So suppose this is your x axis, so this is your 4 comma 0, and this is your 0 comma 4. You join both of them, this is your x plus y is equal to 4, and that is what has been represented like this line. So I hope it makes sense to you, right? So each constraint form a line on the graph, and the feasible region is where all these conditions are satisfied. So you see this particular region, in this region till here all these conditions are satisfied, and the optimal solution, what is the optimal solution? You see this value here, you see this point here, you see this point here, you see this point here. So these are the optimal solution. So the optimal is the best solution. Best solution is the one that maximize profit. What you need to do, you need to find the profit at each of this point. You need to find the profit at each of these points. Profit is what? Selling price, right? So the one that gives you maximum profit is your answer, right? So let me summarize the point which we have just discussed now, the key point summary. So first of all, what we do, we define our, I will do it for you. So the step number 1, understanding the profit formula. We want to maximize profit. So what is our profit formula? The profit formula is 1000x plus 2000y. How did you get this 1000x? Let me tell you, let me show you why this is 1000x. Just wait a minute. You see that for the price of the cost, yes, we want to the profit is how much? The profit is cost of each radio you can see, and price of each radio you can see, 2000 and 6000. So profit formula is each radio gives 1000 rupees profit, right? Each radio gives 1000 rupees profit, and each television gives 2000 rupees profit. Suppose it is given to you, right? So each radio gives 1000 rupees profit, so X radio will give 1000x profit. Similarly, each TV gives Y rupees, gives 2000 rupees profit, so Y TV will give 2000. So add both of them. This is our objective function. We want to, the main goal of our business is to maximize the profit. That means we want to maximize this function 1000x plus 2000y, right? So our job is to find the right mix of X and Y that give the highest profit while staying within our constraint. This is the step number 1. Step number 2, we will plot the key constraint, right? So just now we have plotted the line 1 represent x plus y is equal to 4, line 2 represent this, line 3 represent this, and now we have the data points. For the first line we have the data point 0 comma 4, 2 comma 2, 4 comma 0. You see this line? Let me show you the data point. So these are the data point. So first line you see this point. So this is 0 comma, no, just wait a minute. So this is 0 comma 4, and this is 4 comma 0, and somewhere 2 comma 2. So these are the data points. So we have the 3 data points. So these lines divide the graph into different regions, and now we have to identify the feasible area. What is the meaning of feasible area? See, the common area where all the constraint overlap forms a pentagon. Let me show you how it forms a pentagon. So the common area, what is the common area where all these particular constraint overlap? So this is the common area. This is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, this is E. So this is a pentagon. Let me highlight it. This area, right? This is a like pentagon. So this is a common area where all the constraint overlap. So all the point inside it, whatever point is there inside it, or whatever point is at the boundary, right, are called feasible solution. Means they satisfy all the condition. They satisfy all these 3 conditions. All the point within this area, or all the point at the boundary. So let me show you individually. So this is just like this one, it is a pentagon. So all the point within it and all the point at the boundary, so they satisfy the equation. So they satisfy all condition, but we don't just want a feasible solution. So these are called feasible solution. So all these points are called feasible solution, right? So that is the meaning of feasible solution. But we are not interested in feasible area. We don't want feasible solution. Rather we want maximum, one that give the maximum profit, right? We want one that give us the maximum profit. So how to find the best solution? Now we check which point inside the feasible region give the highest profit, right? So we substitute the value into our profit formula. What is the formula? 1000x plus 2000y. You substitute each and every value, right? And the point that give the highest profit is the optimal solution. So in this case you can see the thick black line, you can see these are the constraint, right? These are the constraint. They show the maximum possible value based on available, and the blue region is the feasible region. You see this blue region is the feasible region, right? So the ISO profit line, these lines show different profit level, right? So 3, 4.80, 6.67. The higher the line, the more profit we make. We want to reach the highest possible, right, profit line while staying inside the blue region. So the best solution is when the highest profit line touches the blue feasible region, right? So 1000x plus 2000y. So what you do, you just find the coordinate of this point and you put the coordinate into this equation. 1000x plus 2000y, you put the coordinate into this equation. The one that give you the highest value is the answer. Let me solve it for you. So suppose, so in this case the best possible point is point number D, right? Point number D, because it gives us the maximum profit. So I think we have done it. So there is a concept of ISO profit line, right? What is the meaning of this ISO profit line? Let me explain you. So the goal, basically what we have seen that our objective is simple, to make the highest possible profit. And what is our profit? Profit is 1000x plus 2000y. Right, X is the number of radio and Y is the number of television produced. More product means more profit, but there is a catch that we have limitation, like the constraint, like machine time constraint, like we can't exceed the available hour, which is 10 hour. Assembly time constraint, there is a limit on how much can be assembled. There is a money constraint, right? And there is a non-negativity rule also. These are the constraint. Now the magic of this so-called ISO profit line. What is the meaning of this ISO profit line? Let's understand. But you know what is the ISO profit line? So ever heard of this ISO profit line? It is a simple trick to find the best solution. What it does, it helps us visualize all possible profit point. How it works? We slide this line upward until we get the highest possible profit point inside the feasible area. So the optimal solution is always at the boundary of the feasible area. Remember, optimal solution is always at the boundary of the feasible area, right? So let me show you the graph. So these are the ISO profit line, right? So these are the graph. Let me show you the graph. So these line you see. So the blue line indicates our feasible area, and the line which is the black line, slanted black line, these are our ISO profit line. And we can see that the best point in this case is point number D, right? Point number D.